Welcome to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast, featuring in-depth interviews with people in hip-hop culture, based out of New England. Leeds. Yes.
What's up, my guy?
How we doing?
Good. Bless. Early morning. Feeling good.
Feeling good. I like that. Me too. And with that note, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast. Very, very special guest today, Cambridge's own Flash of N.B.S.
Know that.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
We got, the timing was this, obviously I did the interview with Knuckles and you have the show, with the hip hop transformation with the festival this Saturday. So I figured the timing was good on your end.
It made a lot of sense. For sure.
Yeah. I generally don't do two people on one interview. Otherwise I would have done both of you guys at the same time before, but I like one-on-one. So
it's better this way. It's better this way anyway. So.
Right. So obviously, born and raised Cambridge.
Well, born in Boston, raised in Cambridge. That was one of my lines. Born in Boston, raised in Cambridge. Chill with them same kids. I make arrangements to put niggas in chains, kid, whatever. But that started off again, born in Roxbury, Massachusetts, by way of Humble Ave. Nux actually Madison Park Village, Roxbury as well. One of our aunts, rest in peace, Aunt Marlene, ended up getting a job in Cambridge but didn't need housing. So around that time in the 80s, a lot of gang violence around my neighborhood and in the neighborhoods, and when we had an opportunity to move to Cambridge, with the apartment that my aunt had, my mom was actually was the first to move to Cambridge, actually, and then Raheem's mom, or Knuckles' mom, ended up following us after that. So
you and Knuckles were friends as kids in Roxbury.
Yeah, we're actually blood cousins. We're first cousins. My mother and his mom are sisters.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so they're sisters, and so again, our aunt ended up getting a job in Cambridge, and we got an apartment. And so my mom came over, and then his mom came over after that. So we've been raised as brothers and lived in the same house since we ended up coming up in Cambridge. So that's
remind me, where exactly in Cambridge did you live?
We from the coast.
That's right.
We from the coast, but basically Central Square, Franklin Street. Also,
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Is that behind the McDonald's?
Behind the McDonald's is the port. We were behind.
Okay, that's a port. So let's break this down for those that don't know about Cambridge, sections, coast, port. Let's get the demographic. Let's get that squared away.
There's about 5 points in Cambridge, right? They're not boroughs because we're not big enough, but I call them right points. So you got east, west, north, coast, and the port. What separates the port from the coast is literally is Mass Avenue, right? Mass Avenue goes through numerous cities in Massachusetts, but at least in Cambridge, on the McDonald's side, anything behind that is considered the port. On the Middle East, Burger King side, which used to be there and it's not there no more. And back of that is the coast, and all the way down to the river, and then from the port all the way down, and you got West Cambridge, which is like where Fresh Pond is, and North Cambridge where our wife is, and then East Cambridge, bless you, is like, Kendall Square and behind that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of how it's broken down and how we came up, and yeah, man, Cambridge all day. Parts.
Cambridge is a much different place than the rest of Boston.
Definitely. And
it's almost. Go ahead.
And not to cut you off, but we've been, like, when we came over here, we heard a lot of, like, it was like Lane Bridge, right? You heard a lot of Lane Bridge, and dudes are soft and like all this other stuff coming from Boston and moving over here. And then when we got here, we had a very quick education into, seeing that, it wasn't too far different from our neighborhood in Boston.
Now, were you in the projects in Cambridge?
Nah, never in the projects. We was in subsidized housing. Uh, Not necessarily Section 8. I don't think we experienced Section 8, but it was low income housing. I don't even know if it was called that at the time, but I honestly don't think we ever were Section 8 kids, but we definitely in low income housing. And yeah, I mean, you know, we weren't in the projects, but we were in the projects. You know what I'm saying? I was in,
Yeah.
and literally like in our building we had, um, some Haitian brothers that lived upstairs for us, and then they ended up moving into the projects, Washington Elms and the port, and then I had some best friends that live in Cochran Park projects and in West Cambridge, and then Jefferson Park. We have friends, Kamal and them, at NC, North Cambridge. So we were actually in the projects a lot, but never lived in the projects. And it was the same thing when we were in Boston. I was in Mission Hill a lot um, with my cousins. So we were around it, but not, in it for sure.
Right. I love Cambridge. To be
Yeah.
honest, I mean, Cambridge gave me a career. I don't think I would have been able to have a career in Boston as a promoter. The Middle East and Cambridge
I mean,
gave me a home.
and how legendary the Middle East is, right? Like,
Right.
um, it definitely, Cambridge for our career, um, plays a huge significant role, but Boston does for us too. Like,
Right.
what I'm saying, but mainly Cambridge, man. Like, there's so many people I could shout out, but Cambridge gave us a foundation. I mean, G-Spin, holding us down through Checkmark. You know what I'm saying? The schizophrenics, right? So it's like that was our introduction into kind of like really hopping into this music shit, especially as independents. You know what I'm saying? Like before we came to Boston, excuse me, Cambridge, and around the time of our transition coming into Cambridge, we were signed to Maurice Starr. You know what I'm saying? So like we were operating, in Elliott Square, his studio, used to practice in Boston English High School with New Edition and New Kids on the Block,
Right.
Perfect Gentleman, did tours, local tours, you know what I'm saying? Like Massachusetts. It was the first time I kind of seen or got to experience like what a tour was, at least in Massachusetts, right? Back then you had like the Flag Festival, which was really big in Franklin Park Zoo. You had festivals in Fall River, New Bedford, just around the Massachusetts and New England area where we used to just go and perform like, almost every weekend. So didn't really know how big it was because we were adolescents, not, well, yeah, we were adolescents and young kids. Um, but, we were around everyone that was moving and shaking. So
Yeah.
kind of started
Like,
us.
I always consider Cambridge Boston, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it's not Boston, but
yeah.
dude, it's like a whole city is part of Boston. That's the way I look at it.
I mean, the significance of it, like obviously, if and we'll probably talk about this later, but we had the pleasure of traveling, throughout all the continents.
Yeah.
When we're going, we're not like, oh, we're from Cambridge. People, where's that? They think it's London, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, or
Yeah.
hey, or something. But it's like, nah, we just from Boston. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it very simple, and then as we dive in and create more
Yeah.
relationships, able to let them know where we're actually
Well,
from.
we were born and lived in Roxbury.
No,
It's not like
absolutely. I mean, I
so
don't
it's
have,
it's
like the thing about Cambridge, right, is like majority of people in Cambridge have family, like, what I'm saying, an immense amount of family from the area. Me and Nux, we don't have family in Cambridge. I'm creating family because now my kids, what I'm saying, are born and raised in Cambridge, but um, we don't have like family. Like all my family's in Roxbury, Dorchester, you know what I'm saying, New York and stuff like that. So we ain't never had family. When you came out here, like, and you were getting the issues, someone had an older brother, older sister, older cousin. Like we ain't had that. You know what I'm saying? It was just us. So we had to figure it out on our own. So Cambridge
and
here.
that's also you grew up on Humboldt Ave. That's Ed O.G.
And
He was Humboldt Ave.
I used to, back in the days, Ed was my man and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And that's a hood hero for us. Again, we've been in the music industry since, like I said, like adolescence, right? And so, um, we would do shows, Kid and Play, LOG, and again, like doing shows with the New York rappers and the New York people at the time, which was very big. And then you have someone like LOG, what I'm saying, also there. It was like, it was amazing because money from my neighborhood, and then two, um, he's just from the city, you know what I'm saying? And that, you're actually looking at somebody who did it, and was in it, all, even down to Benzino RSO. Like, I'll never take away from them either. Like, I always have a pride about like Massachusetts, like, getting this just due. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I felt like we would never get it because I think we like a small New York, or think that we ain't got black people in Boston. I don't know what they would think, but it was just weirdo stuff. And um, we, I'm very confident and happy that I feel like we're part of the reason that narrative changed. Sure.
Yeah. What was I going to say? So Cambridge, there was, when I was doing hip hop shows at the Middle East, and there was shows that like the police would be worried about, or there's a certain headliner that's going to bring the wrong crowd, right?
Yep.
There was always this theory floating around that because we were in Cambridge and
Mm-hmm.
not in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
that there was less of a concern that it would be an issue because dudes in Boston wouldn't want to go all the way to Cambridge to start trouble. Do you
Mm-hmm.
believe in that theory?
Um, I don't know if I believe in the theory. I think at one point that was the narrative, right? Like a lot
Right.
of, when you think about venues, right? Like, there weren't a lot of venues, and no venues actually in Boston. So the Boston artists had to come over to us anyway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we had Lansdowne Street at one point. I know there was like a few different places where you can kind of put on some shows. I almost feel like Austin Brighton been in the play for a while.
Yeah. Harper's Ferry, Bright Music
Yeah,
Hall.
yeah, Harper's Ferry and all them. So like we had little venues, but if you look at it, they're all outside of like Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan.
Right.
Then like so, um, that's why I say like in Massachusetts, the Middle East is so legendary, that we do play in Cambridge. I say plays a huge part in Massachusetts hip hop, because if you didn't perform in the Middle East, like it's almost like you ain't kind of exist. And then
Right.
when you look at the people who perform in the Middle East from top to bottom, you're like, yo, right? I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't care what level status that you have. At some point, if you're somebody, you performed in the Middle East. Wiz Khalifa, Wu Tang, Eminem. You know what I'm saying? Like you did it. A Boogie. Like
Kendrick.
I don't care what genre of music or level of hip hop or type of hip hop it existed in the Middle East. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I think that there were some, you know how it is. Like you might get somebody uh who's coming in who has some heavy ties, and the next thing you know, you got Boston police in Cambridge,
Right.
and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So I think it's more of a safety mechanism and to kind of watch what people are doing. Like, most people who came to come do shows would never come to be active. They really came to kind of push their music and push the opportunity to be heard and seen. So I mean,
Right.
I get Boston police or Cambridge police being worried about certain things, but most artists who came over there wasn't on that shit. They were just trying to perform and get up out of there. For
It's
sure.
crazy though, the fear that would go through sometimes. And I'd be a victim of it too, because I'd have a lot of pressure.
No, for
But
sure. I got a few calls from you before about
yeah,
some.
right. I had to call dudes in the street and be like, "Oh, what's up with this? What's up with that?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they'd be like, "Oh, it's cool. Don't worry." You know, but it's like that was part of the job. You know what
Nah,
I mean?
that was
Because
good. And that just shows your connection to those people, you know what I'm saying, on both ends of the spectrum, like knowing, people in the street, having to communicate with the police and other people just to make sure that it went. Like people don't never understand the behind the scenes aspects when it comes to this type of shit. So um
right.
also played a huge role. We could talk about that all day, but yeah, a lot of opportunities for many artists. So it's very appreciative, and you know, the Middle East is a staple in hip hop in general, and then definitely in Massachusetts, New England hip hop for sure.
And in the country.
No,
I
I
mean,
saw.
Rolling Stones ranked it
Yeah.
top 50 venues in the country.
Wow. Wow. And it is. It is. I mean, it's intimate, but it's lit. And then you have two aspects because you can do upstairs if you're a smaller artist, and then you can do downstairs if
Yeah.
you can maintain and sell that piece out. And there's a lot of good opportunity in there. Excuse me, but no, I mean, love it. Like I'll never,
Yeah.
it's the shit for sure.
I still think it's the best place to see a hip hop show in the
Yeah, I
downstairs.
think so too. I ain't gonna hold you. I think so too.
Because it's the basement.
I
Hip hop started in the basement. It's tight. The
yeah,
ceilings are low. The
yeah.
bass carries. I just think like that shit's hell.
No, agree 1,000% with you, brother. I promise. Promise, agree.
Right, right. So moving on, man. Shout out Cambridge.
All day.
So Cambridge also has another stigma of like really artsy, liberal, like really kind of different alternative living. How
Yeah.
did that affect you as someone from Roxbury? Did you jive with those? Like, did you mix with those guys, or did you stand out? Like, how did that work? Because
Well,
I
honestly,
met a lot of different people from Cambridge, and
yeah, and it's a range, right? It's a
it's a
range.
range. It's a crazy range.
Got everything. And honestly, before the idea of gentrification, we were already that, right? And Cambridge is a mountain excuse me, of different races, right? So you
Right.
have Eastern Africans, you have your Haitians, you have your Jamaicans, you have your African Americans, you have your white boys, you have your Spanish, you have the Cape Verdean. So you have everything kind of out here in a small place. Um, I think it was dope because it exposed us to life, right? And especially me in music. Like I was already privy to different cultures. So by the time I started hitting the world, the acceptance or how I received love from certain people and understanding and knowledge from different people was something that we were already like growing up in. You know what I'm saying? My classmates weren't all black, or my classmates weren't all white, and my classmates weren't, you know what I'm saying? Like I had every Chinese, Japanese, like we had it all. So you had to learn how to one, you made friends with people in different cultures, but you also had to learn how to appreciate, understand, and comprehend the way, people live, you know what I'm saying, inside of the city, which really helps you in the long run because when you're doing business or you're doing anything, you are literally dealing with different races and different people when doing so. So it kind of like I thought it was cool because it prepared us for something that we didn't even know we need preparing for,
Right.
or how it would help us down the line when doing business and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I was actually okay with it. No cap, for sure.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um, are you Muslim? Is your family Muslim?
And so my Raheem's Raheem, that's my cousin, so I call him Raheem. But
Yeah.
Knuckles,
Yeah. Yeah.
his mom was a Black Panther. His father a Muslim,
Yeah.
Sunni Muslim. Uh, our My mom, not necessarily Muslim, but followed the principles. My father, um, as well, not too much understanding the stuff with him. But we went to Muslim school as kids, and then we always been members of Number 11 Mosque in Roxbury. So we were always there, right? And so with Muslim or five percenters, so on and so forth, it was stuff that we kind of got into on our own. With religion and or being a Muslim, it is advised that you find, the religion that works for you, even if you are a Muslim. Like Muslims would tell you, like read the Torah, read the Bible, read the Quran, read them all, right? And come up with your own kind of justification of how you perceive, religion and life, like that. But yeah, I mean, I practice Islam. Minister Farrakhan is my minister with the Nation of Islam, but I also have a little backing in 5% Nation. Um, so I do it all, but I consider them, and it's funny because there were years where I didn't practice as often, or I wasn't going to the mosque, and one of my brothers, who do our security and stuff like that, I'm like, yo, man, I can't really call myself a Muslim. I ain't been practicing. I ain't been on my deed. Like I haven't done anything. And he like, once a Muslim, always a Muslim, right? And that kind of stuck with me forever. And yeah, so I probably, I'm an avid weed smoker, drink here and there. So there's a lot of shit I shouldn't be doing, but I'm gonna keep it a buck, you know what I'm saying? Cause I don't lie about nothing, but my relationship with the Most High is my relationship. You know what I'm saying? I practice how I practice and when I practice. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're more like a 5%er.
I mean, I think
Because
I'm.
they drink and
I think,
smoke. They drink
yeah,
and smoke.
do a whole lot of other things. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't mind. I'm just I'm a believer. I won't even say I'm anything. I'm just a believer. And that's kind of where I gravitate. You know what I'm saying, when it comes to religion.
Yeah, I mean, it's faith is faith, and it's progress, not perfection. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and learning every day, man. All the time, learning every day. For
That's
sure.
good. Yeah, the reason I ask is you and Knuckles' names are like Muslim names.
Yeah, no, they are Muslim name. My name means spiritual leader, and I think that's something. I'm elated that my mom gave me that name because that's how I feel. Like when it comes to my team, when it comes to moving, I am always like kind of the leader. When it comes to that, I may not be the leader in perception. So when you see something, right, Nux is the one that's always outside at the club here, so you may see him all the time. But when it comes down to business and making the moves, that's kind of like what I do. And I lead in that way. And just trying to be a forward thinker and always thinking business or thinking how to monetize. You know what I'm saying, before that was even something. So yeah, I mean, so his name Raheem Rashid Muhammad. My name Imam Ali Bilal Furman. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you talk about the dynamic with you and Knuckles and N.B.S. You being the business man, and ever since I've known you, you've been
Yeah.
freaking hustler,
Yeah.
everywhere, outside. I mean, you're outside too. He might be at the club more, but you're
Yeah,
outside
yeah.
at the other places.
I'm outside, you know what I'm saying?
No,
For
you. I seen you in a
outside.
lot of images.
I'm outside for sure.
Where did that hustle come from?
Selling drugs.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
where did this?
Um,
You think you were born with it, or is this something you developed where it was like? Because I have it too, and
yeah, great question. You want to know the real? I felt like even as N.B.S, we never got our just due, right? Like,
right.
and I think the hustle always came from people being non-believers, right? Like literally, like and maybe I have like something crazy going on in my mind, but I always feel like we're stagnant, right? And I think that was the reason why I was able to do the things that we done with the group, because I never felt satisfied. I never felt like, even when we come home, people like, yo, you've been in this country, you did this, you did that, and I always would feel like it was nothing to me, right? Like, not saying like on some cocky shit, but on some like, nah, we need to be doing more, right? We're actually in these countries, we're actually performing in front of 40,000, 50,000 people, 10,000, 12,000, signing autographs where we go and all this other stuff. But like at home, nobody's paying attention. You know what I'm saying? And so, and even if they are, they're not, the love is not being reciprocated, or we're not being able to feel it because they're like, oh, they're already on, or they're already doing this. You know what I'm saying? And I think the hustle for me came from like, nah, we are doing it, but I still need the support from my community, from my city, from my boys. You know what I'm saying? Like we would do so much stuff where like we'll be doing shows, and I'm sure you can remember, we used to be 40 deep, 30 deep on stage, like when we performed. And G Spin called me one day and said, yo, I love y'all shit and I love the energy and everything you do, but who the fuck is in the group? I'm like, what you mean? It's me and Knuckles. He's like, nigga, the 30. He didn't say nigga, of course, but he's like, there's 30 of y'all on stage. And we started to think like, yeah, like, okay,
Yeah.
they can identify who we are. So we started to not have 30 motherfuckers on stage and try to give them jobs. All right, you get in the audience, go get some emails or phone numbers, or, to create this kind of list. But they, it almost took them back a little bit, where they were like, I ain't going in the audience and getting phone numbers. Like no one, right? Like they
Not the
ain't
most
really understand.
desirable job.
Yeah, like it isn't, but it's like, yo, if I really believe if we would have tackled it the way we intended, during that time, especially, our cult following would have been a little bit different than what it was in the United States. We got a cult following overseas, but in the United States, we didn't have that. So
It was a tough time too, and I say it all the time on this podcast. You know, that transition from the record labels crashing to the beginning of the indie boom,
yeah,
people before streaming. Our generation got in that middle there,
yeah.
where it was tough to get yourself, tough to get yourself out there
And that
because
really was. It really was. But
it
we
just was. You had to do shows all the time, and you had to press your music up for free and give it away because no
yeah,
one was going to buy it,
no,
and
facts,
it was
facts.
hard. And there
Yeah,
was no
well,
streaming, so it wasn't like and people the discovery outside of your city was tough to do.
and while we were doing that in the transition, you had to really understand how the internet worked. You had to understand
Right.
how LimeWire and all these fucking things to share your music, right? Um, so there was a lot of stuff that we were learning in the process
Early
of.
days of social media where it
Absolutely.
wasn't where there
And
wasn't
no,
really
none of that shit. Wi-Fi,
yeah,
right? Dialing up Wi-Fi and trying to figure that out.
yeah, it's
Man,
hard.
there was a lot of stuff that we had to kind of figure out. But there's nothing like I ask myself sometimes, like when I think about my career, like am I satisfied? You know what I'm saying? Am I satisfied as an artist? Am I satisfied as a businessman when it came down to our music? And I can't lie and tell you that I'm not. Like I'm completely validated and satisfied. And if I never rapped again and never did a show again, I have had some amazing experiences that will last me a lifetime, and I can share with my children and people I'm teaching now, even in hip hop. And feel really good about it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm completely okay with it. We did it. We did it big. We did it good, and I'm proud of us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think your guys, lack of success, if that's what you're calling it, was because of lack of effort.
Yeah,
Because
no, no,
you and Knuckles hustled your ass off. You know what I mean? And
facts, facts.
I think sometimes, I mean, and you guys did. I mean, you toured. I mean, we'll go talk about the touring. I mean, you guys toured more, did these shows that you're talking about. That's most artists don't get those opportunities.
I never, and that's why I say I'm satisfied, right? Because it's one thing to do it in your backyard, but to do it somewhere else is like, do it somewhere else. I mean, the amount of different currencies we received and was able to touch is crazy. So yeah, when we get into that, we'll talk more about it. But for sure, man, definitely feeling um fulfilled.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, because you guys, you and Knuckles were such hustlers outside of music,
Mhm.
do you think it was difficult because you guys were juggling so many different hustles that the music, as far as pushing the music forward, suffered in that regard?
Yeah, because you know what it was, bro. Like honestly, um, we were more concerned about putting Cambridge on the map or putting Boston on the map than really trying to be there. So let me give you, if I can, give me a
Yeah.
second to
Yeah.
explain it. But you had N.B.S, right? We literally rap for our neighborhood and rap for Boston and rap for the street. But then you had guys like Virtuoso,
Right.
who same time we're rapping about the street shit, he's traveling fucking Europe, right? With AOTP and all this other shit. So they're experiencing something that we weren't even thinking about, right? And one of the ways in which we got to that level was we stopped rapping about the neighborhood and started rapping about the world, or started rapping about like seeing ourselves in different places and stadiums and all this other stuff. And it kind of like pushed us pushed us into that realm, because like if you rap about isolation, like meaning if you rap about, you know, Hoyt Field and Western Ave and Franklin Street and all the places that we at and we coming up, that's where we're gonna stay. You understand what I'm saying? Like you sometimes gotta separate yourself from that, still know that you're a part of that, but still separate yourself to do or look at things that are like bigger, right? The bigger picture out here. So again, Vert was doing it big at that time, right? He was getting paid for touring. He was, they were They were doing it, you know what I'm saying? They were the guys. And this is where Cambridge is kind of ill because we would have these, we wouldn't have them, but there would be parties, females, white females or white dudes who would have parties in these big ass houses and big kegs or whatever. I don't drink like that, but big kegs and weed and all.
I used
Big,
to, not anymore. I did drink like that with
yeah,
kegs and fucking keg
yeah,
stands
kegs and
and
all that
beer
shit.
pong.
That wasn't my thing. But we used to always go to the parties, and when we go, it always would turn into a freestyle session. It'd be us, Virtuoso, Kabir. I don't know if you're familiar with Kabir.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of those dudes. You know what I'm saying? And then you have
Right.
makers like Zach Johnson and Nikki Broadway. Again from Cambridge. Zach produced for Fat Joe, Fabulous, French Montana, whoever else, and then you got Nikki Broadway, who was embedded in the Dungeon family, so Killer Mike and all them, and Big Boy. But these are all the homies that would be at the parties that we'd be chilling with and rapping and doing stuff like that. So for us, I think the way we were able to get into it, the overseas aspect was collaborating with the Virtuosos and the Nikki
Yeah.
Broadways, those type of people, and it kind of pushed us out of there.
Yeah, Vert was a problem.
Nah, serious problem. Serious. God.
Incinerator,
Yeah.
those World War I albums, I mean,
Yeah,
all great.
yeah. He had a lot of, and that's what I'm saying. Like the way he was even moving, like we weren't even, no one around my neighborhood was thinking like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Then they called them
yeah,
back then. That's when it was really backpacker shit. You
yeah,
feel
yeah.
what I'm saying? And it's
Well,
like,
it
oh,
was like those 12 inches. He was pursing up 12 inches, and those were going worldwide. So
I'm
that's how
telling
people
you,
are discovering them.
facts. And it was ill, like, and so Vert plays
Vert
an
had
intricate piece.
distribution.
Yeah, he plays an intricate piece in how we ended up starting our overseas run. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, talk about that more in detail because the alliance with Virtuoso is important, I
yeah,
think, for your guys'
cool. So
success.
now for sure. So I remember again, we always used to rap freestyle and shit like that. And
Right.
at this time, Knuckles and I are probably the biggest, in Cambridge, partially Massachusetts, as a whole. We were fresh, we were new, we were street, we were all of the above. We were deep, right? Is like so you knew who we were, you knew when we were coming. Um, and that was the beautiful thing about it, because back then, if you would look on stage, I had guys from the port and see, we were all in unison. You know what I'm saying? But long story short, I, I I can't remember where I seen Vert at, but he's like, "Yo, come to my studio." Came to the studio. He's like, "Yo, we should start a business or whatever. We should start a label or whatever it is." And I'm like, "Oh, where?" He's like, "I already got it. I got all the shit already set up. It's called Big Bang Records." And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck it." And my thought process again, like I just told you, this motherfucker's traveling overseas. We still in the hood. Like I want to figure out what that feels like and just know how they're able to do it. And um, I got with him. He's like, "Yeah, we should just start it together." I told Nux. He's like, "Yeah, I'm in." Um, and we started Big Bang Records, right? Not started, it was started, but we became a part of that. And one of the first tracks, the Snowgoons had called him and said, "Yo, I want you to get on this track with King Magnetic and I don't know who else, some other dudes were on it and whatnot." And then he's like, so Vert got on the track, he killed it. And there's an so I, I'm gonna move around a bit, but I'm gonna try to tie it all in at the end. So our relationship with Vert ended up coming. He got on track with the Snowgoons. Simultaneously, I met a guy named Jeppy Anderson. Jeppy Anderson, his name is Signature. Right, Signature ended up at the same time that we joined forces with Virtuoso and Big Bang Records. He was the new producer over at Snowgoons. So me and Signature had a relationship from MySpace. He was sending me beats, and it was some of the illest beats I ever heard. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, "Yo, who the fuck is this?" And me and him just stayed in contact. Really good friend of mine. And when he was transitioning to go over there, I was also at the same time transitioning to go over. So he spoke up highly of us to Det and Illegal, who are like the founders of Snowgoons. And then they told Vert, like, "Yo, we want to put you on the song. We want them to get on the song too." So me and Nux ended up getting on our first song with Snowgoons. Um, so I tied that in right there. And again, my guy was also part of Snowgoons, and they called Miguel, excuse me, they called Vert, and they were like, yo, we want you to come down to Czech Republic for Hip Hop Kemp Festival. We have a set, and we want to give you 30 minutes. You know, they were bringing up a whole group of artists that they were fucking with, and he was like, yeah, all right, cool, you know, and at that time, you know, it was lit. They're paying for flights, hotels, and all this other shit. So I'm like, oh, this is dope. I'm actually seeing what I really wanted to see this whole time. He ended up uh doing a song, and then he's like, yo, I'm going on tour with them. And he was like, he said to me, yo, Flash, I think you should be my hype man. And so I had to humble myself because like, hype man, like nigga, I you hype man. But I was like, I humbled myself because it was like, yo, fuck it. If that's the way I'm gonna get overseas to see what this like, I'm gonna be your hype man, no problem. She's like sending me music, learn my lyrics and all this other stuff. So I start doing that. But in the midst, I told Nux, yo, listen, I'm flying to fucking Czech Republic. I'm buying my own ticket. And I'm going with Vert to be his hype man for a performance, this hip hop Kemp shit. And Nux like, yo, fucking, I'm coming too. And I was like, all right, word. So now when they find out we're coming, they give us 15 minutes of the Snowgoon set. Bert gives us 15 minutes of his set, and then they give us an hour in the airport hangar. So anyone who Hip Hop Kemp is crazy because it was on an old Air Force base. So every airport hangar had an after party to the main show. So we performed our main stage for 30 minutes. 15 minutes with Virtuoso, 15 minutes with Snowgoons, and then they gave us an hour in the airport hangar that probably had about between 3,000 and 5,000 people in it, just in this airport hangar. Like it was fucking huge, right? And it had a stage set. It was just beautiful shit. And I just remember like me and Nux rocking and the energy and like people loving us. And I got off stage. And this is one thing I tell new artists. I don't care if it's today or even back then, right? One thing that me and Nux never did was do a performance, get off stage, and stay backstage with everyone else. Whenever we did a performance, we got off stage, we went immediately into the fucking crowd, right? Because one, you get praises, or your performance is dope. How do I find you? You know what I'm saying? So it's networking in that piece. But when I did do that, I swear to you, Leeds, and I kid you not, I put this on my kids. I had 7 or 8 promoters lined up: Italy, Germany, Switzerland, Spain, fucking you name it. And they just all walked up to me, each of them giving me their cards. Oh, I book here. Oh, I book here. Oh, I book here. Swear to God. I'm at the venue, right? Oh, excuse me. We're still at Hip Hop Kemp. And I have their cards and I'm sitting down while dudes is partying, drinking, smoking, all this other stuff. I'm sitting down and I'm messaging these people. Yeah, I just met you at this place. I just met you here. I'm this. And I kid you not, 6 weeks later, me and Nux went on our first tour. Um, we did like France. What do we do? France. I think we went back to Czech Republic. We did Germany. We did a few different places. I remember the way I booked it, the routing was fucked up. So if I can give you a quick like example, we literally went from Boston to LA to fucking New York to Mississippi to Connecticut. You know what I'm saying? Like we did, the routing was fucked. And I remember nothing
That sounds
living.
like 10 hours without even leaving the United States.
No, it was out of this world. And I remember Nux was so fucking pissed, like cussing me out, and you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and da 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 da. And I was just like, I was frustrated, but that was a learning lesson for me, right? And by the next time, we went back on tour, and literally like, so that was like 6 weeks after Hip Hop Kemp, we went on our first tour, and then probably 4 weeks after that, we went back on tour, and then we were going on tour for 10 years straight overseas. So
Crazy.
that's literally fact and how it broke down, and again learning in the process and being hungry enough to want to keep going and doing that shit. So
That's what's up. And
yeah,
N.B.S had a great run, brother.
yeah, we did. We had a good 10-year run, no cap.
So is the group broken up now? Because last show we did a few years ago, it was like, this is it.
Yeah, and it's just funny. I say I retired,
Yeah.
like, and so I think the transition for me, like I kind of like I said, like when I think about my career, I've done it all, and I'm really pleased with what we done as hip hop artists. I transitioned into booking shows and
Yep.
road management, and we could talk about that too, Mob Deep, and you know, doing some G Unit stuff or whatever. Like, so I transitioned into that aspect, and Nuck always kept going with the rapping. Um, I love the rapping, but I feel like nowadays it's not really about the music, it's more about the social media. And I'm not the guy to sit, freestyle, on the roof, or fucking freestyle from balcony, and like do all this other shit and have the camera in my face all the time. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't have the hunger for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you really have to be consistent with that. You really have to you know, you gotta do a lot. And I'm just not I don't have the job to do that musically. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, yeah, I quit. I don't, fuck rapping or whatever. Like, would do some things here and there, but I wasn't really like pressed on doing fucking, rapping and performances and all that other stuff. I now again transitioned into not only clothing, but I transitioned into booking shows. And so trying to tackle that and be the best at that, or be as good as I can be with that. Um, was like my new goal. So yeah, I mean, no, we're never broken up because we're blood cousins, and we can't throw this shit away if we felt like it. But we are getting older, and we're not in a rock and roll or country uh state where it don't matter if you are 70 years old, you still get the same kind of, reception and perception. Our fans are now, they have kids, they're married, they got life going on and jobs. So people ain't always like, oh, I'm coming out to the show, right? It's maybe something that could happen here and there, but it won't be a consistent thing. So I kind of bowed out a little bit, just because, like I said, I'm satisfied with where I was musically. If I wasn't, then I still keep like going. But yeah, so no, we're not broken up to answer that question, and we can never break up ever. But yeah, I did step away a little bit to do other things, but still in the hip hop field for sure.
Nice.
Mhm.
Talk to me about the hip hop transformation.
Absolutely. Hip Hop Transformation is a program where we teach kids 18 through, excuse me, wow, I'm bugging, 14 through 18, how to write, produce, record, and perform music. We operate out of the Cambridge Community Center. I'm the director of the program. So although hip hop has left me as an artist, it hasn't left me too much, because kids still ask me to hop on songs with them or write stuff for them and stuff like that. So I'm still embedded in it. But these young teens give me life. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of people go through our program who happen to do shows at some of your venues, and some of your shows. So we have an umbrella, a nice umbrella of kids that we got to touch and work with to become who they are today. And it's just dope, man. I always, it's always new life. I mean, I'm hearing some beats that are like, that make me be like, I need to go in the studio, because can I get this beat? You know what I'm saying? Like, these kids are just totally they're just the shit, man. They're amazing. They're hungry, they love performing. Um, and it's just dope, man. Super dope. Super
Dope,
dope.
man.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see this on the festival Saturday. What are we
Yeah,
seeing?
we are, man, and I appreciate it. It's our second time being on this particular festival. I didn't get to go last year. I was actually out the country with an artist. I think B Love or someone like that. So I missed it, but I will be there this year. I'm excited for it. But we did hear that, from my guy Lightfoot, that the kids did well. Um, and we're super blessed to be a part of it again for sure.
So Lightfoot, is he handling like all the music side of things?
Yeah,
I
so
guess.
Lightfoot is our is our audio director. He's our
Yeah.
audio director here. Lightfoot actually was in THHT before I was. Um, so I watched Lightfoot really grow, you know what I'm saying? Not only as a musician, or engineer, or a producer, but as a facilitator. He's now a professor at Berkeley. And through this program, man, we were able to help him and put him in leadership roles where he was, really hopping into facilitation. And then also Lightfoot and I also teach the same program to middle school kids in Cambridge as well. And then we're trying to expand it out to 18 and 24-year-olds. So like very big on mental health, very big on music being therapeutic. And we lost a lot of kids to the streets after they left our program. So we wanted to try to, one, make it a full year program because hip hop transformation only goes for 6 weeks in the summer. But we were able to secure some funding to make sure that we do it throughout the year. And then we're trying to figure out how to interject, 18 to 24-year-olds because, through as a mental health, excuse me, a lot of these young adults are still young all the way up until 25, right? So like they still have the same tendencies and understandings as, a young adult, right? Who still need to be nurtured and cultured. Throughout their process. And like I said, when kids leave us because they age out at 18, they try to they either stop doing music, right? Like with THHT Leedz, like literally it's almost like a record deal, right? You got free studio time, marketing, you have access to engineers whenever you feel like it, you have access to writers when you feel like it, you're getting performances, you're getting paid for the performances. You feel what I'm saying? So when you leave that at 18, musically, you're like, what the fuck do I do? Oh, I gotta pay for my own studio time now, or I gotta find an engineer, or this person's not available. You know what I'm saying? Like, because everything is literally in your face for that time period. And yeah, and then at the end of the summer they put out an album. So in 6 weeks they're putting out an album, they're doing a performance, they're getting marketing, they're doing it all. So and again that album, digital platforms and stuff like that. So now you can say my shit's on Spotify, I'm on Apple, you can pull me up and stuff like that. So um it's definitely an amazing program, and we've had a whole bunch of results from doing the deed and doing good work.
Salute to you guys for doing that.
Appreciate it for sure.
Well, we're gonna wrap up soon. Anything else you want to plug?
Anything else I want to plug? Check out this. I mean, there's so much, right? But check out the City Team, my clothing line. Vetswear was something that Nux and I started in Switzerland. And then I got to get with my guys from the City Team, which really helped us propel. Today I'm wearing autism awareness sweater that we made for kids with autism, and yeah, just promoting that. So again, like my transition hip hop into booking and road management, and then going into clothing, man, is kind of what it's been. So yeah, that's basically it, man. I appreciate you letting me get our stories out there and talking, about this. So nah, I appreciate it for sure.
No doubt, brother. Well, look forward to seeing you guys rocking on this Saturday at the Gold Festival with Ghostface, and it's gonna be a great night, great day.
Great day, great day, great night too, because I'm sure it's gonna go for a while. So yeah, look forward to being there, and I'll see you there, my boy.
All right, buddy. And I just want to thank you for everybody for tuning in to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast. A very special guest, Flash. I will talk soon, brother.
Peace. Appreciate you. Love.
Peace.